right away. China. Little kids, bro. See how fast that was? First day of school, there's an article related to this.
Germany has lost its mind, and Germans simply aren't ready for what's unfolding across their country, from blackouts to food shortages.
An issue that's now forcing retailers to implement purchasing limits on staples like sugar, flour, and cooking oils.
And I think they're in a state of denial. How could your corrupt leaders turn off your nuclear power plants, push your country towards renewable energies that don't work? You were all sold a bill of goods. It's total madness. We'll have more on Germany in just a second. But first, this morning in California, which is America's most insane state in the United States of America, if you're not familiar with it, the Biden administration just offered Governor Gavin Newsom this morning $1.1 billion to keep the last remaining California nuclear power plant running, up and running. Watch this.
Governor Newsom is considering keeping the state's last nuclear power plant online beyond its planned closing in 2025. Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant in San Luis Obispo County is the state's largest producer of electricity and will be difficult to replace, even with an increase in renewables.
So the plant, which had been scheduled to close by 2025, was chosen in the first round of funding for the administration's new Civil Nuclear Credit Program, which is intended to bail out financially distressed owners and operators of nuclear power reactors. Wait, what the hell? What the hell are you talking about? The only reason these nuclear power plants are distressed is because the politicians made them distressed by cutting their funding and piling on draconian regulations that make it impossible to run and do their job. It's not as if they're just sitting around distressed. It's not like the power plant is distressed because it can't pay its student loan debts back. It's not like it's distressed because it has to pay alimony support. It's distressed because you idiots at the World Economic Forum and the globalists forced it out of a job.
I just see the need for such a dialogue, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
So yes, it's distressed because it can't find work. It would like to do its job. It just can't. It's in the unemployment line. Now, California is asking people to turn off the lights, turn down your heaters, don't charge your electric cars.
We encourage you, before you leave home, if you can turn those thermostats up to 85 degrees. That would also help reduce demand, particularly with so many of the automatic thermostats that we all have and enjoy. We want to make sure, again, we're not using unnecessarily and consuming unnecessarily.
We all need to pull together. So let me get this right. Nuclear power is the cleanest form of power. It provides power to millions of Californians, and you want to shut it off. The Biden administration is giving you a $1.1 billion of taxpayer dollars to keep it turned on. So we are living in a clown world run by idiots. So what are they replacing it with? Solar and wind? How? Germany has lost its mind, and Germans simply aren't ready.
You know, but no one else thinks it's ridiculous. Oh no, it's the pronouns in the email. What does that even mean? What does it even mean? You're saying things you can't define. LBGTQIA plus? Who's the plus? The plus is invited on my show anytime. Find a plus and I'll interview him. What's it like to be a plus? Am I a plus? I'm serious. I feel like I'm an addition. Does that make me a plus? No one even knows what it is. And the whole society, LGBTQIA plus. All right, what's the plus? Oh, shut up, racist. Okay. So you reach that place and you feel, and this is one of the reasons, Father Scalia, I was actually overcome a little bit with emotion as you prayed, because I realized that I was so upset by the behavior of some people I love, frankly, in a country I revere and always have, that I wasn't praying for the country. You know, that's on me, and we all should be. But back to my point. So you see the sadness happening. But there is, as there always is, this is a fact of nature and theology and of observable reality, there is a countervailing force at work always. There's a counterbalance to the badness. It's called goodness. And you see it in people. So for every 10 people who are putting he and him in their electronic JP Morgan email signatures, there's one person who's like, no, I'm not doing that. Sorry, I don't want to fight, but like I'm not doing that. It's a betrayal of what I think is true. It's a betrayal of my conscience, of my faith. of my sense of myself, of my dignity as a human being, of my autonomy. I am not a slave. I am a free citizen, and I'm not doing that. And there's nothing you can do to me to make me do it. And I hope it won't come to that. But if it does come to that, here I am. Here I am. It's Paul on trial. Here I am. And you see that in people, and it's a completely unexpected assortment of people. I'm really interested in cause and effect, and as I noted at the outset of my remarks, and my ability to predict the future. Working on that. But because I'm sort of paid to predict things, I try and think a lot about, what connects certain outcomes that I should have seen before they occurred. And in this case, there is no thread that I can find that connects all of the people who've popped up in my life to be that lone brave person in the crowd who says, no, thank you. You could not have known who these people are. They don't fit a common profile. Some are people like me. Some of them don't look like me at all. Some of them are people I despised on political grounds just a few years ago. I could name their names, but you may not even know about their transformations. I don't want to wreck your dinner by telling you who they are. But there's in one case someone who I made fun of on television, and certainly in my private life in vulgar ways, who was really the embodiment of everything I found repulsive, who in the middle of COVID decided, no, I'm not going along with this. And once you say one true thing and stick with it, all kinds of other true things occur to you. The truth is contagious. Lying is, but the truth is as well. And the second you decide to tell the truth about something, you are filled with this, I don't want to get supernatural on you, but you are filled with this power from somewhere else. Try it. Tell the truth about something. You feel it every day. The more you tell the truth, the stronger you become. That's completely real. It's measurable in the way that you feel. And of course, the opposite is also true. The more you lie, the weaker and more terrified you become. We all know that feeling. You lie about something and all of a sudden you're a prisoner of that lie. You are diminished by it. You are weak and afraid. Drug and alcohol use is the same way. It makes you weak and afraid. But you look around and you see these people, and some of them really have paid a heavy price for telling the truth. And they are cast out of their groups, whatever those groups are, but they do it anyway. And I look on at those people with the deepest possible admiration. I am paid to do that. I face no penalty. Someone came up to me, you're so brave. Really? I'm a talk show host. It's like I can have any opinion I want. That's my job. That's why they pay me. It's not brave to tell the truth on a cable news show. And if you're not doing that, you're really an idiot. You're really craven. You're lying on television. Why would you do that? But no one else thinks.
English people, there's nothing here for us, the people and the working class. White English men of this country, a lot of us out of work, millions of us out of work, we're not being listened to. And the mainstream political parties are.
It's not about a teen girl gets pregnant and what do we do about that, and victims of rape. I get it. Of course I understand that, and I have compassion for everyone involved. But when the Treasury Secretary stands up and says, you know what you can do to help the economy? Get an abortion. Well, that's like an Aztec principle, actually. There's not a society in history that didn't practice human sacrifice. Not one. I checked. Even the Scandinavians, I'm ashamed to say. It wasn't just the Mesoamericans, it was everybody. So that's what that is. Well, what's the point of child sacrifice? Well, there's no policy goal entwined with that. No, that's a theological phenomenon. And that's kind of the point I'm making. None of this makes sense in conventional political terms. When people or crowds of people, or the largest crowd of people at all, which is the federal government, the largest human organization in human history, decide that the goal is to destroy things, destruction for its own sake. Hey, let's tear it down. What you're watching is not a political movement, it's evil. So if you want to assess, and I'll put it in and I'll stop with this. I'll put it in non-political, or non-specific theological terms, and just say, if you want to know what's evil and what's good, what are the characteristics of those? And by the way, I think the Athenians would have agreed with this. This is not necessarily just a Christian notion. This is kind of I would say, widely agreed upon understanding of good and evil. What are its products? What do these two conditions produce? Well, I mean, good is characterized by order, calmness, tranquility, peace, whatever you want to call it, lack of conflict, cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It's true, it is. And evil is characterized by their opposite.
This is perhaps the greatest video I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm not even joking.
There's a cry across the heartland, a yearning for the days gone by. And in little old Corden, Indiana, they're happy and they'll tell you why. They got butt drugs, they love butt drugs.
Alright guys, if you've been in a car accident, you do not want to.
So as you look at these avocados, you have a bunch of normal avocados, right? And then secretly, you have Bill Gates bioengineered avocado, a peel. Whenever you see this avocado, you want to avoid this at all costs. It's biochemically engineered, and it's going to lead to cardiovascular.
You want to know the most gangster electrical trick that I've ever learned from an old man? Check this stuff out. You ever sitting at the shop and you can't figure out how much wire is on a reel, and you're about to go do a service call, and you get all these reels that are like partials, and you're like, I got like 100 feet to do, but I really don't think that's going to make it? Pull your multimeter out and it'll actually tell you what the distance is. So in code, chapter 9, table 8 tells you what all of the DC resistance values are. I know for looking in that book that number 12 is 2 ohms per 1,000 feet. So that's 0.2 ohms per 100 feet. So now I can just take this, and I know this is a 500-foot roll. So at 0.9, it'll jump around 0.9 to 1. That 2 ohms per 1,000.
Joe Kennedy and John Kennedy were adopted into the Kennedy family. Only Teddy and Bobby are real Kennedys. See, when Abraham Lincoln was about to be murdered, he sent his kids, Tad and William Wallace Lincoln, to Benghazi, and they had children. 2 of those children are Joe and John Clooney. Abraham Lincoln doesn't have a middle name. He's not British, like they said. He's from the Middle East. His name is Ibrahim Khalil Clooney. He is Donald Trump's great-grandfather with John and General Flynn, JFK's grandfather. Joe and John Clooney were brought to the United States, and they were adopted by the Kennedys. Joe Kennedy and...
Add 1 cup of rice on top.
Imagine you got taken back in the...
It's shocking.
It's shocking. 1,900 food production companies in the past year have been destroyed. The 2 largest egg manufacturers in the United States have burnt down in the past 36 hours. We've had 2 planes smash into meat processing centers. And the only commonality amongst all of them are these 2 things. They make food for Americans, and it's on American land.
Chender, why'd you join the army?
To be in the Cav.
What we're watching through...
Why I never backpack solo on the Appalachian Trail. So this happened last year in Virginia, and is also the reason I never backpack alone anymore. I was taking summer courses at the time, and we ended up with a 3-day weekend in June, so I thought it was a great time to go explore some of the Virginian wilderness. I did a Google search, found a state park with a trail that looked nice, and let my roommate and family know the trail I was going to be on. When I got close to the park area, I saw a little outdoor shop where people hiking the Appalachian Trail stop. I went in to grab a map of the area just in case I got lost. As I was talking to the owner, he mentioned a trail that's not well known that has a pretty cool waterfall and swimming hole. This piqued my interest, so I had him show me on the map. It took me outside the state park, but he said it was a great place to go. I paid for the map and thanked the owner. I texted my roommate and parents about the new trail, and I parked my car and set off on my adventure. I should note that the waterfall was going to be a side trip from my journey. I was planning 3 days, 2 nights. I started on part of the Appalachian Trail, and it was pretty packed with people, and some of them were really fun to talk to. As expected, as I got further and further from the main trails, I saw less and less people. Around early afternoon, 3 miles from my destination, I noticed it was unnaturally silent. No birds, no bugs, not even whined, and I had a feeling of being watched. I shook it off as me overanalyzing the situation. I got to the waterfall, and it wasn't spectacular, but it was cool to look at. Plus, it had a good size area to swim in, so naturally I stripped down to my skivvies and took a dip. It was pretty refreshing. As I was getting my clothes back on, I started whistling to myself. It was Chill Bill because it was stuck in my head. That's when I heard something whistle the same tune back. I thought it was a bird copying me, so I went back and forth with it, and it'll repeat whatever I whistled. I thought IR was pretty neat. As I was setting up camp, I couldn't shake this feeling that I was being watched again, like I'd get goosebumps and my hairs would stand up. As night fell, I built a small fire and lit my jet boil to make dinner. As I did this, I became hyper-aware that again there was no sound, just deafening silence. Some part of my brain was telling me that I'm not safe and to leave. I ignored it and crawled into my tent with my flashlight and book. I went to sleep without incident. When I woke up the next morning, my site was trashed. My camp stool was nowhere to be found. My bear bag with my food was cut down and the contents were thrown across the site. My first thought was a crafty animal chewed through the rope and got at the bag, but I looked at the rope and it was cut with something very sharp. Plus, none of the food was even touched. I also noticed bear footprints all around my campsite. Keep in mind I'm at least 6 to 8 miles from a road. As I was looking at the mess, I heard a branch snap off in the distance. I turned to look in that direction. I saw nothing, but I heard that whistling again, my whistle from yesterday, but it was different. It sounded more sinister. It made my hair stand on end, and this is when I listened to my instincts to get the hell out. It sounded like it was a little off in the distance, so I packed up my camp as fast as I could. The whistling got closer as I finished stuffing the tent into my bag. I didn't bother with putting anything away properly. The whistling was incessant and sounded like it was coming from all directions. I got fed up with the whistling, stood, and I yelled into the woods, "Shut up, and what do you want?" It stopped whistling, and it was quiet for a moment, then it repeated what I said in my voice. It sounded just like me, but distorted, like it came from an old TV. After I heard this, I immediately threw my pack on and ran the direction I came. I heard it moving just behind me, fast, switching between the whistle and my voice. It felt like it was toying with me, not coming too close but not being too far. Eventually it sounded like it got further and further away from me. Then it stopped suddenly. When it stopped, I stopped and turned around. I wished I didn't, because I heard the most bone-chilling screech ever coming from right next to me. That's when I started running again. I didn't look, I only ran. They saw the look of terror in my face and asked if that was me that screamed, and asked if I was okay. I told them about what happened, and they decided to not go down where I just came from. We moved to a more populated trail as quickly as we could. As soon as I got back in my car, I drove to one of the park's ranger stations and reported what happened. Since the site was off park grounds, they told me it wasn't in their jurisdiction, but they'll send a ranger to investigate. The ranger station's parking lot run right up to the woods, and when I was getting into my Jeep, I heard the Chill Bill tune coming from woods just in front of me. I never drove so fast in my life. Follow for more horror stories.
$0? LLCs? I'm here to set the record.